What's up, movie nerds? It's your girl Cece, and let's get candid about Mickey 17. You know, I enjoyed this movie mostly until it got about halfway through, and that was when you learned that it was bad to have more than one person, aka multiples. Then it just got weird and disgusting.
You have my face.
Not to mention the movie kinda got hedonistic and ritualistic, which made my skin crawl. No, I did not need to see someone drawing sex pictures, and no, I did not need to see someone almost having a three-way with the same person. Clones. You know, you can argue all you want that it made sense for the story and it advanced the plot, but I'm not buying it. And was there a need to show that much vomit on screen? Seriously, it was more than Pitch Perfect, and Pitch Perfect had a lot in it. And you know what? I loathed it in Pitch Perfect, and I still loathe it now.
Oh, that is so gross.
And also, why did the villains have to be a part of some sacrilegious church and then start chanting in the middle of dinner about their god or something? Did it feel like they were making fun of something in almost a offensive way, or was it just me? Like, I want to know, were the villains acting this part, or were they actually serious about this? Either way, it felt a little sacrilegious and offensive to people who have real beliefs and real faith. But maybe it was supposed to feel like that because they were like really evil villains. Not to mention the dumbest villains I've seen on screen in a long time. You know, on purpose. Like they were dumb, not that the villain itself was dumb. You know what I mean? The character was dumb.
You are the dumbest person I have ever met in my life.
Yet they still held so much power. I mean, that's insane. You never want an idiot in charge of anything. They can muck things up real fast. You know, I feel like if you just take out a couple of parts of this movie, like all of the vomit, like on-screen vomit that you can see, the little part of the dinner scene with like the weird chanting again, and then like half of the swears, and the movie would have been better.
And then it would be perfect.
But that's just my initial review of the movie. Keep on watching to see the full review and whether or not you want to give this movie a shot. There will be spoilers and the reasons for the rating, so be aware.
You have been warned.
And let's get this party started.
I mean, really, let's do this, mother!
First up is acting, and I give that an 8 out of 10. For what was given and what was done, I think the actors did a really good job portraying their respective characters. Robert Pattinson did a very good job of portraying two very different characters on screen. Even though they were ostensibly the same person, clones, they kind of had different personalities, and they were two very different people by the end of it. So he did a very good job with that.
Oh, you crazy boys.
Also, the bad guys were very hateable. Seriously, the main villains were like every bad under the sun. Animal abusers, human abusers. I mean, they tested on humans. There was flagrant human rights violations just all across the ship.
This is not up to code, and quite frankly, it looks dangerous.
And they didn't give a darn about killing people, and not just because one of them was a clone that could just come back. Also, just plain mean and apathetic to like people's problems, the plights on the ship. They didn't give a darn.
You think I care about you?
I mean, etc., etc., etc. They were everything. Basically Nazis, really. And I can say that because they wanted their new world to be inhabited by pure people, whatever that means. The other actors did good with what they had as well. Nothing seemed particularly cringeful unless they wanted it to be in that moment.
Did I mention I'm a serious actor?
Now for the story and script, which I give a 5 out of 10. I think the story had great potential to start with, but then it just started getting weird, way too sweary, and also I didn't like the fact that they had to make the villains like religious, I think, like a part of a church. It was like the church of their world was backing these horrible, awful, gross people.
That's so not cool.
And it's just like, why? Why do you need to make it affiliated in that way? You know what I mean? And like, and still, that dinner scene was so weird and it sucked to sit through. It was so cringy to sit through. I had to go like this the entire time.
Can someone cover my eyes?
Because it was just like offensive chanting, seriously. And like, I get that they were villains and that made them that much more hateable, but I don't get why you had to have it in the movie. I just don't like it when that happens. I just don't. Personal opinion. But maybe they made their own church / religion or whatever. I mean, it seemed kind of like a lot of folks were like worshiping them. And if that's the case, fine. whatever. It makes them that much more villainous, but at least you could be clear.
I don't think I understand fully.
Also, just like with Love Hurts, this movie seemed to be trying to hit a quota of how many curse words could be in it. Or they just told their actors that they could just swear sometimes in the moment, do what feels right, and the actors are like, oh, I get to swear. Oh my gosh, and they just went way overboard. Like kids in a candy shop. I mean, seriously, there was like this one scene where the main girl, who was like the good guy, had like an F word every other word. And it like went on for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's way too much.
And it's like, the F word the only word you know? You can find better words to say what you want. I mean, seriously. But overall, I mean, the story had a nice premise. I thought it was very interesting. I don't know. If you got something else from this, please comment down below so I can know.
See, you lost me there.
Now for the theme, which I give a 5 out of 10. I had some audio problems, so let me just give my few initial thoughts right here. The theme was probably revenge, although the first like half of the movie until the dinner scene, the theme was not really there for it. You were just watching a guy die a lot, and then all of a sudden, okay, now we don't want to die anymore, so let's get revenge. It just seemed kind of hollow a little bit for me.
Goodness, you didn't give me much.
I don't mean to be harsh to this movie, but it didn't seem like there was much to this movie besides watching a guy die a few dozen times and then them being like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe I should have read the book first to get like the deeper lore of this story. But what I'm saying is, like, if you have to read the book to understand the movie, you did the movie wrong.
Well, that's not good.
Now for the details, which I give a 7 out of 10. From the scenes that I could watch, you know, because of all the gross stuff, it really did seem like they were on top of a spaceship and then in a different sort of planet. They did really good with it.
The attention to detail is excellent.
I think they did a really good job with all the different set pieces and the sci-fi aspect of it all. I mean, I don't think it was as outstanding as like Marvel movies, aka Guardians of the Galaxy, but it wasn't bad.
Wow, that's impressive.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the full review. So here's your spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert.
And let's get into the reasons for the rating. Mickey 17 is an R-rated sci-fi comedy. And yes, it is definitely rated R. I do believe so. There was so much in this movie. I think the most that I've seen since doing this channel. So let's get into it. Sex content. Not only is there a sex scene that's rather drawn out. Thank goodness you didn't see anything that was overly explicit, like no nudity per se, but there was an awful lot of like movement and grunting and junk.
Was that necessary?
And there was also a scene where the girl and Mickey were drawing themselves doing it in various positions. Now they were stick figure drawings, but they also exaggerated the chest area and the groin area.
Oh, I wish I hadn't seen that.
And then, like I talked about before, there was a lead up to a three-way between two Mickeys and the girl before someone interrupted them, thank goodness.
Is it hot?
Yes.
Pour it into my eyes.
Now let's talk about the drugs and the alcohol, because this was a pretty bad movie for it. I mean, there wasn't any drinking, but there was a couple of characters in this movie who partook in a very hard drug, like that was made up for this movie. And also there was a couple of characters who were dealing it. So it was a drug that was illegal, very hard, and it was being dealt on this spaceship.
Hey, what are you, on drugs or something?
Oh, now we're getting into the gross stuff, and oh my goodness, where do I even begin? Oh yeah, the vomit. There was copious and extreme amounts of vomit in this movie. The blood kind and the regular kind, due to pathogens and food poisoning and that sort of ilk.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Plus, the bugs were kind of gross if you don't enjoy many wet limbs. Also, there was this one scene where you watched the doctors put tubes into every orifice of Mickey's body. And I mean every orifice. If there was a hole, there was a tube in it.
That doesn't go there.
Mickey also popped out of the cloning machine at one point when they didn't have a table that he could just kind of slide out like a conveyor belt. So he just kind of flopped onto the floor. So he was naked, but you didn't see the front, you just saw the back, but still a bare butt.
Naked as a jaybird.
And he's kind of wet when he comes out of it too, so it was like, And yeah, that's it. Not a lot in theory per se, but since there was so much vomit in this movie, I was covering my eyes so much. And my ears. Like, there was like a lot of sound that was just gross too. The whole kit and caboodle.
Oh, I can't watch this.
Now for the language. Like I said, this movie had a lot of swears, and most of them for no good reason, just like Love Hurts. You know, it actually wasn't too bad for the first 30 minutes of the movie, and I was getting lulled into a false sense of reality, and then all of a sudden, they just kicked it into overdrive and just went for it as much as they could.
Do you know any other words?
It seemed like it was more than Novocaine, but I think it was because there were scenes where there wouldn't be a lot, and then all of a sudden there'd be one scene where it was just chock full. Every other word was just a swear. So it was kind of off and on, so you would get like to relax for a bit, and then all of a sudden, boom. If there was like censoring for like daytime TV, the whole scene would just be like, and it's just like, why?
Stop cussing, because you're not good at it.
Anyway, there were 70 F words, 16 S words, 8 A words, 7 heavy uses of the Lord's name in vain, 2 D words, and 12 other various swears.
Language.
Now for the violence. Okay, let's get one thing straight. This movie is about a guy who dies in various ways 16 times and goes through hell doing it. AKA, this movie is violent.
Well, duh, dude.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, there are lulls in this movie, unlike Novocaine or Love Hurts, where it was just kind of constant the entire time, but this movie is still violent. There was a lot of stabbing, shooting, burning, putting Mickey through every type of pain imaginable. I mean, it's not a movie you go to if you have a weak stomach or constitution.
I got a weak stomach.
And I'm surprised I lasted, considering how much vomit there was. But, you know, I'm pretty good at telling when something is coming, so I could shield it away real quick and then be like, Ma, did that happen? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I figured. At least I don't have to see it, because if I see it too much, that's when I start getting, like, problems.
I don't want to see that or think of it again.
And you know, there was this one scene where this guy got completely chopped up by a chainsaw. You didn't see it, but you heard it and you saw all the blood splatter. There was a bunch of blood splatters and like blood pooling. Again, it wasn't as graphic as Novocaine in certain ways, but like you still saw certain things on screen happen. Before we get into the overall of this movie, let's put a random number of time on the clock. Maybe it'll appear above my head. And now I'm gonna rapid fire some questions that I had for this movie. And you can take from it what you will. And if you have any answers, you can comment them down below. But if you do have a lot of answers to these questions, I'll be a little concerned for you. Alright, let's start now. Why would this girl still want to be with Mickey if he's literally if he's literally human trash and technically not the real Mickey anymore? I mean, they went through such intense detail about the fact that the cloning process is all of the waste and junk from the spaceship making the human. So poop, right? Yeah. And like, I want to know, is she crazy? Because like, why would you want to be with someone who died all the time? That just seems taxing. And why would she want to be with two of the literal same dude? And if they did do the three-way, would that be considered some form of incest? Because what the heck? And is a clone with all of the fixings in this movie, like just the clone itself, is that the same person or different? You know, honestly, a lot of questions could be asked in the same vein, but it gets way too philosophical, way too quick for no reason, since it doesn't matter, because you can't clone people. You get one life, one soul, that's it. You can't play God, but for this story, I gotta ask these questions. Why did the bad guy look like he had bigger teeth implanted into his skull? Does he think he looks good with that? It's like Looney Tune style teeth. Why was the bad lady so obsessed with making sauce if they didn't want fake food on their new planet? Like, why would you want to keep perfecting that? It just seems like a fool's errand. And why make sauce? And why make sauce if you ostensibly have the replicator from Star Trek on your ship? Just make the food through the cloning machine. And if you if you have the ability to clone people, wouldn't you be able to wouldn't you like download everyone's memories and personalities on the ship? So like if someone accidentally dies, you can recreate them? I mean, you clearly have no problem recreating humans, and you left Earth to basically do legal human testing, so why wouldn't you want that safeguard? Is it to keep the people you want pure? Surely not everyone on that ship was ideal for their new world. Also, why are you using the cloning device so crappily? If you can clone people, you can surely clone animals and plants since they're living, which means you have an endless food supply. So why make food out of the bugs from the new planet and other things? Also, who put these people in charge? They are dumb as heck. And how did they get in charge? How? Are they like trust fund babies that they have all this money to get this platform? And also, was all the testing on Mickey necessary or was some for fun? Oh, I guess that was the end of our time. If you want the rest of that question, just comment down below.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Overall, I give this story a 4 out of 10. This movie had great potential, but it lost me with the plot, the copious amounts of vomit, and the fact that we had to see sex drawings. Why? Why? You know, I definitely liked Novocaine better, but it was much better than Love Hurts. I'll tell you that. Really, the movie was alright, but it was very unsettling and gross. And I just had a lot of questions. And I don't want to come out of a movie with more questions than answers. I wouldn't watch it again, and I really think I've burned myself out on R-rated movies, or maybe just R-rated comedies, because they tend to be overly gross and just too much. But this is just my opinion. Honestly, I talked to somebody who said that they had read the book, and it wasn't like the book at all, apparently. So they weren't too happy with it either.
Wrap that up and give it to a child on Christmas, because we're done.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you want to see any other movie, please comment down below as well. Also, please share with your friends, like, and subscribe so I can make more like this for you. Every Friday, I have a new review, so if you want to see something specific, you know what to do. Also, don't forget, Mondays are 1-minute stub reviews, where I review old movies that I've seen before, right off the top of the brain, unscripted, just for you. If you want to see any of those as real reviews, comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and just remember, right here at Candid Cinema, it's okay to talk, it's okay to text, and I will CC you later. Bye!